Rose May is the COO of ChangeNOW, and you started your career in pharmaceutical marketing, where you worked for 8 years, and like many of us in our purpose-driven careers, you got concerned by the environmental issues and lack of urgency around things like climate change. So you left that career with a multinational company in 2017, I believe, and you launched the ChangeNOW Summit, which is, absolutely incredible. And we've got Kristy, otherwise known as Brown Girl Green on social media. Definitely go, and there she is on a TV just here. Definitely go follow her, Brown Girl Green, on social media if you haven't already. And she is a speaker, consultant, media producer, and environmental educator. I was actually lucky enough to meet Kristy at COP26, where we filmed together. In fact, we planted her very first tree over just outside of Glasgow. And she's actually joining from some woods just out in the USA somewhere on a retreat. So hopefully the connection is good. Hello, Kristy. And she set up the Green Jobs Board to make it easier for people to find roles in impact. So it's a perfect person to be speaking with yourself, Rose May. Why don't we start with you? Firstly, what's it like with just a few hours left of such a successful event? And have you, more importantly, got any sleep in the last few weeks?
Just a few, just a few hours. But yeah, it's fantastic. Actually, the past 2 days and a half have been absolutely fantastic for us. I'm very proud of the solutions we had this year. I'm very proud of the energy of you all guys, of the participants, to see that year after year there are more and more people involved in this transition and willing to act. So yeah, that's a booster.
Can we just get a round of applause for, seriously. And you brought the sunshine as well. Did you pay extra for that one or not?
Yeah, well, we have a good star on ChangeNOW, so we were sure we would have sun.
So tell us a little bit more about your journey to getting to where you are now, and how does ChangeNOW specifically contribute to supporting careers and impact?
So I studied my studies in a business school in France. I remember my first class in the business school. The first question of the professor was, what is the mission of a company? And he said there is one only answer: to maximize profit. Wow, that was shocking.
I remember a very similar scenario.
Yeah. And so I was really concerned about my career, about what I would do for the next 40 years. So I was really questioning myself, and I joined a career in health industry, which was a way for me to give purpose to my career. And then, so it's like a personal journey. We had a road trip with my husband. We were already talking about ChangeNOW, about the idea of this gathering of change makers. It was supposed to be just a hobby, but then we realized that it could be like a big thing. So we had to give it a chance. And we launched actually another event before ChangeNOW. Together, we launched a job fair for tech startups. It was a job fair to help startups hire, because actually it's very tough when you're a startup to hire. You lack money, you lack time, you lack visibility, notoriety. So we launched this job fair. It was a great success. And we did a survey at the end. And we asked the people what kind of company they wanted to join. And we were surprised that 80% of the applicants said that they wanted to join a company with a purpose, an impact company. So then we launched ChangeNOW, and we decided just to switch the job fair and have a job fair dedicated to impact. So we have our way to help companies hire is through this job fair. So we are doing our third edition this year in October in Paris. Last year we had 4,000 people joining the event.
Wow.
And I can testify myself, several people in the team were met at our job fair.
Brilliant. Well, I love that. And Kristy, tell us about your journey in setting up the Green Jobs Board, how it all came about, and what the mission is.
Yeah, hi everyone, tuning in from America. So happy to be here. But yeah, I'm Kristy Drutman, and I'm the co-founder of the Green Jobs Board. And basically, the journey there is that I went to university, I studied about climate science and environmental issues and was so passionate. I was getting really active in climate activism and youth activism from a very young age. And I really wanted to make a difference. And, you know, I was getting to learn from climate scientists around the world, policymakers around the world, and was feeling so frustrated that I wanted to make a change. But even by the time I finished university, and even though I had all of this experience, I still couldn't figure out how I was going to find a job when I finished school. And there wasn't a clear roadmap. I would talk to my career counselor at UC Berkeley, which, you know, is one of the top universities thinking about social impact and environmental issues. And I told her, I was like, I really want to find a career that combines my passions for media, journalism, policy, and science. And, you know, I've always viewed myself as more of a generalist than a specialist. And for people like myself, there's not always a clear-cut career pathway. And so they didn't really have great advice for me. And I realized, like, if I have all these accolades and all of these experiences, and it's so hard for even me to find a job, imagine every other young person in the world who wants to make a difference, but doesn't know, A, how to find a job that pays decently, B, find a job that can actually, you know, feel fulfilling, and C, work in a workplace culture that actually makes them feel included, secure, and just empowered to want to do this work for the long haul. And so the Green Jobs Board really got birthed out of that. I actually, you know, I am a full-time content creator with my platform Brown Girl Green. And basically it started as an Instagram post. I went on Google and just started finding social impact jobs around the world that I thought were interesting. And I started making content about that. And basically I had no expectations, but people were just going nuts over it. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so great that you're putting together this resource on a weekly basis and posting about it. And it all happened kind of organically. It went from a post to then people asking, oh, are you going to make this its own organization? To us then making it an Instagram account, and now having a community of 70,000 plus people around the world in under a year, of especially young people who are like, you are providing a curated resource of green jobs and social impact jobs that makes it so easy to learn how to find a career pathway in this space. And so that's our mission, is to bridge the gap and to ultimately connect employers in the social impact and environmental space with diverse and qualified talent, especially with young people wanting to build a career in this space.
And Kristy, I mean, how much experience do you have to really, truly make an impact? Is it 10 years or not?
No, I think people think that you have to have all of these pedigrees to get into environmental careers. But as we heard from the previous two talks and panels, we need people who are adaptable, people who are passionate, and people who are curious. And if you have those three traits, even if you don't have the technical skill set, you'll be able to find a place in a work environment that needs you and wants you to be there. And you don't have to wait till you graduate university. You can start as young as 13, 14 years old by just, you know, starting to ask yourself those questions on how do you want to plug in and carve out your own space. And surely a pathway will find you if you don't find it first.
And Rosemary, as mentioned in the previous panel, I often have to rein myself back sometimes in looking at the expectations that I'm setting as an employer. If we talk about employers for a second, what are the challenges for mission-driven employers?
Well, so it depends on the size of the company. As I said, if you're a startup, you don't have time to spend on hiring, and it's really time-consuming. So you like this. You like the visibility, the notoriety. You like the money. You can't afford a hiring agency. So even if you are like a super inspiring startup, you may have very few great applicants. Then if you are a bigger company, many big companies say to us that they need people, decision makers, who are more trained. And we have a gap today between the level of the schools in the transition and the expectations of the companies who hire. So we need to increase the level of the school, so that this theme was discussed. We did something with ChangeNOW. We launched the first school ranking in France for schools and universities to change the world. And the idea was to help students find their future universities or school, but also to help the recruiters know where to recruit the students, but also to help the schools. The schools, in France, and I think it's the same in many countries, the school rankings are very important, because as a student, you want to go to the best school. So the school really tried to do their best to fulfill the criteria of the rankings. So we thought, okay, we need to change the rules. The rule doesn't have to be the best salary when you start your career. The criteria must be how well you're trained for the transition, how big is the network of alumni who can help you making a career in transition, how is it, what is the governance of the school, how many, is it inclusive, is there diversity? So yeah, we launched we launched this school ranking, and we really see that it helps recruiters, schools, and students. And actually now we see year after year that schools ask us, what can we do? What can we do to get a better ranking? What should we do? And so yeah, that's super, energizing to see that.
And where can people find that resource?
Sorry?
Where can people find that resource that you built?
So we launched it with Les Échos Start, and so we publish the school ranking every October. So next October you will see the new ranking.
Brilliant. And Kristy, how does someone in the recruitment phase, maybe they found a role through your platform, how do they ask a company about their genuine social and environmental ambitions and drive? Should people be asking, that in the recruitment phase, or will that almost hamper their opportunities in getting the job?
I think that there is a new trend where especially young people are very keen to knowing if a company is actually standing up to their commitments. I think that that's a part of creating the culture shift and the accountability for organizations and companies. I don't think it needs to be aggressive, right? It comes down to, your tone and your framing. But again, it's about like inquiry and transparency. So I think if you're able to phrase it in a way of asking, I really love your mission and your vision that you say you want to achieve this ESG goal, or you're trying to reduce these types of emissions by 2050, or you really care about diversity and inclusion. Could you go a little bit into more detail on what that actually looks like? And then see what they say and ask questions. I think you don't need to go in and be like, I know that you are lying about this, or you're not really as up to date as you need to be. You don't need to go in with that attitude. You can go in with, okay, I'm here to vet, to kind of feel out if they're actually really following through with their commitments. And if they're not, maybe this isn't a workplace that I want to commit to. At the same time, that encourages the transparency that if a company or organization isn't quite there yet to being a very clear social impact or quote unquote green job, doesn't mean you're eliminated as a company. You can be really honest that, hey, we've achieved X things. We're not perfect, but this is where we want to go. I think people can appreciate that as long as you're really honest and accountable to that timeline and that process. If you're not, and it's just lip service and PR, I think especially young people are going to be able to see that. And so just from the recruitment side, it's really important that it's a conversation and that we're really being honest about that gap.
Yeah, in some cases as well, having that confidence to ask probably makes you a better candidate anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think it shows that you know what you're talking about and you know what the organization or the company stands for, and that you would be a good culture fit because you're already thinking critically about these questions.
And Rosemary, what do you think the challenges are for applicants who want to join a mission-driven company?
Well, we did a survey after the first job fair, after the second job fair last year, and we identified that 25% of applicants, of candidates, say that they felt illegitimate to have a career in impact, that they felt not trained enough. They thought that they needed hard skills. And as we said, actually, hard skills, you can get them during the job. What you need is rather soft skills, rather passion. Find yourself. I really liked the image of the head, the body, and the heart. So some don't even dare to apply because they think that they're not the right people. Then we have also 25% who just apply but don't get any answer. So this is another challenge. And they just don't get any answer because you apply and it's just a curriculum. And you don't, as a person who hire in my company at ChangeNOW, you receive a lot of curriculum, and it's really hard to identify just with the curriculum who the right person is. So they are quite deceptive about that. So, and that's why also they came to the job fair, to meet in person and to have an answer right away. And also 15% said that their challenge was money, because they had the feeling that when you do it, you have a job in impact or job with impact, then you have to sacrifice your expectations in terms of salary. And well, that's interesting, and that's important. Yeah. I mean, and actually the gap is not that big between the normal salaries, and actually the gap is smaller and smaller. Yeah. And actually, I think what is important when you're when you apply for a job in impact is to think about the minimum salary you want to have. What is the level you feel comfortable with, you think you're worth. Not look for the best salary, because your purpose is not only the salary, it's also the passion you can have in your job, how much it resonates with you. So yeah, if you're comfortable with a certain level of salary, then I mean you're legitimate, and actually that's not such a problem anymore, I think. We see here, you see at ChangeNOW, companies are more and more mature. They can afford great people when you find the right match. I mean, that's priceless for a company as well.
In the UK at the moment, sustainability manager is the second fastest, largest growing job role in the UK. And it just shows that there are businesses of all sizes who are really, pushing this area, which didn't really exist kind of 10 years ago. So, Kristy, there are three common narratives that are happening, I see, especially for young people in the workplace. To me, that being kind of looking at work ethic, work-life balance, and burnout. We were talking the other day about project managing optimism and building resilience into people's work ethics. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as we kind of close off this session?
Totally. I think if you want to build a long-term career in social impact, along with having soft skills, you have to understand that this work is for the long haul. Of course, it's amazing, at least when it comes to financials, that yes, there actually are better paying social impact jobs now. And I do love disrupting that narrative that like you have to sacrifice everything to be in this work. I think we need to challenge that on so many levels, not just financially, but also like from like a personal and emotional resiliency standpoint. I think sometimes there's really this praise for martyrdom in social impact work when in fact we need collaboration, we need support systems, and we need to hold space for each other to really take care of ourselves. And what can taking care of ourselves look like? That means when you're building your career, not being dishonest with yourself about what your actual needs are. I think if your need is that you need a decent salary, be honest about that. Make sure that you're setting your priorities in a realistic hierarchy of, okay, maybe I need to get paid this much now because I need to send money home to my family. Or I don't need to be paid as much now, and maybe I could work a part-time job at a coffee shop, and then I can volunteer my hours on a board at a nonprofit, perhaps, to try to gain that experience. Or I can do an internship that doesn't pay me as well to gain experience. Again, it depends on your lifestyle and your access to economic privilege, racial privilege, etc., on what you have access to and can take advantage of. And it's important to take stock of that as well as what your limitations are. So on top of that, in addition to your economic mobility opportunities, also addressing, how can I make sure that I'm making time for family, for friends, for fun, for enjoyment, and making sure that you're also budgeting that into your job search, because it's so easy to get into fatigue, to get hopeless, to get burnt out. And you need to make sure that you're also project managing the amount of time you're spending connecting with your body, with yourself, making sure you're exercising, sleeping, spending time with the people in your life, because we want people in social impact to be in this for their whole lives, not just a sprint when you're a young person and then you burn out and then you go maybe to a corporate job that doesn't really necessarily care as much about social impact. You want this to be embedded into your lifestyle. We want everyone to have that. So how can we start creating a new culture that is actually encouraging, especially young people, that they can have a work-life balance while still making, living a purpose-driven life. And I think there's so many ways that you can be more effective, more efficient if you prioritize your self-care first. And we all prioritize collective care by creating workspaces that embed that in its DNA. We no longer are in this era of climbing up this corporate ladder or nonprofit ladder, and you have to burn yourself out in order to prove yourself. In fact, we actually need to be creating, the nurturing soil and planting the seeds for people to want to thrive and be their best selves. And that's what we're really going to see if we're going to make a social impact sector thrive and not have a future generation of burnt out, bitter adults. So I think it's really important that we are cultivating that culture, holding accountability for companies and organizations to create those conditions that everyone feels that working in social impact is something that is their dream job, makes them really excited to wake up every day and to do this work for the rest of their lives.
Look after your head, body, and heart. I think that's one of the key takeaways. Well, I would love to carry on chatting, but that is the end of our session. So please, if you can, a round of applause for both Kristy and Rosemary. Thank you.